He made a decision on whether to supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine or sell them to NATO and let them sell them to Ukraine.
Yeah, I've sort of made a decision pretty much. If you consider, yeah, I think I want to find out what they're doing with them.
Yeah.
You know, where they're sending them, I guess. I'd have to ask that question. That war should never have started, would have never started. Such bad judgment was used there. I think on both sides, by the way. But nobody looks good with the war with Russia and Ukraine. Nobody. It's been a horrible. This week they lost over 7,000 soldiers between the two of them. And this is every week they're losing 7,000, 8,000, 5,000.
They had a range of like 1,500 miles or something, and so they'd be able to.
No, I know. No, I would ask some questions. I want to see what's. So I'm not looking to see escalation.
Hello guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is Kingsley, and today we'll be talking about the video you just watched. The video you just watched is the video of American President Mr. Donald Trump telling the media house or the press that he plans on delivering a new game-changer weapon to Ukraine. Now, this missile is a Tomahawk missile. Now, this is the same president that ran his campaign on ending the Ukraine conflict in 24 hours. That is the same president that is talking about sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Interesting times. Now, these are the same people that, we call the acts of Russia escalatory. Why they are doing the same thing? They have consistently been trying to escalate these conflicts by supplying Ukraine with weapons that is actually Western-made weapons, which they have been using to hit targets in Russia. And the reason of this is not that because the Western weapons are so powerful. It's because for Ukraine to use those Western weapons, then the people that sent it has to be there to operate it in Ukraine. For instance, if the United States of America, under President Donald Trump, sends Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, Ukraine cannot independently operate Tomahawk missile. They will need the training, the expertise, the facilities, the satellites, the information, and basically everything that the United States can offer. And that will make it a direct complicit of this war. Although it has been a direct complicit of the war, but the level of Tomahawk now is different because United States of America will pick and choose the target for Ukraine. So, guys, this is another round of escalatory decision from the West. I have some few talking points here, or some few articles here to share with you. First is the response of Zelensky. What is said about the Tomahawk missile. Then we'll also be talking about the Russian parliament member that calls for the bombing of Poland. If United States of America sent Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine and Ukraine actually use that weapon on Russia, they call on the bombing of Poland. Yes, the bombing of a NATO member. This to show you the dangerous time that we are now and how things can escalate from here. So first of all, let's look at President Zelensky's response. Zelensky. Tomahawk could make Russia sober up as Trump will consider missile aid to Kiev. Zelensky said Trump didn't reject Ukraine's request for Tomahawk missile weapon that he added could make the Russia sober up. Okay, so let's read the article. Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky said US President Donald Trump, during their meeting in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly 2 weeks ago, appeared open to Ukraine's request for Tomahawk cruise missile a shift from Washington earlier refusal. Speaking to journalists on Wednesday, October 8th, Zelensky said Trump's latest comments signals a potential shift. President Trump can give Ukraine something that we discussed, certain long-range capabilities that are very important for us, Zelensky told reporters, according to Ukraine Forum. We first raised this issue in the fall of last year in New York, when President Trump was still running his campaign. During our latest meeting, I didn't hear a no. I heard that they will work on it at the technical level and considering the possibilities. Zelensky added that he had previously brought up the issue of Tomahawk missile transfer to the White House during Joe Biden administration, but was turned down. This is now an important signal strengthening Ukraine by all possible means, he said. And Tomahawk is one of such means. This system can strengthen Ukraine and make the Russians sober up a bit, sit down at the negotiating table. Earlier this week, the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, reported that nearly 2,000 Russian military sites will fall within reach of Ukraine forces if Washington approved delivery of long-range Tomahawk cruise missile or more targets than there are missiles available. So, the think tank said that the extended range of Tomahawk variants could be employed to about 2,500 kilometers, that is 1,500 miles. We should put at least 1,945 Russian military targets in range. A total range variant that could fly about 1,600 kilometers, that's almost 1,000 miles, would reach roughly 1,655 targets. Sites listed by ISW include a large Saidro factory in the Alubaga industrial zone in Tatarstan, as scores of military airfield. Analysts also point to practical limits. Siddharth Kosal of the Royal United Service Institute said the United States produces only about 50 to 70 Tomahawk a year and has already used 100 in past operations, which could limit how quickly large numbers could be supplied. Now, the article you just saw is the response of President Zelensky, saying that this Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine will force Russia to the negotiating table. So, I pause and I wonder, how will they force Russia to the negotiating table when the Russia are already on the negotiating table? Then Mr. Zelensky and his short memory forgets that it was he who banned negotiation with Russia. Did he forget that during the Biden administration, when he thought he had the upper hand on the battlefield, that he refused negotiating with Russia? And what was the mantra of NATO and the West then? The mantra was that they want a Russia defeat on the battlefield, that they don't want a ceasefire, but a Russia defeat. So now, because of they are losing on the battlefield, all of a sudden they start calling for a ceasefire. If Mr. Zelensky is so keen on accepting a ceasefire, then why can't he just go ahead and accept a peace plan instead? I mean, a peace plan is better than a ceasefire, because a ceasefire is we just pause it for a while, and when they are negotiating and they don't like the result of what is it, they are going to resume the war again. But a peace plan is something that will be permanent. So why go for a ceasefire where you can go for a cease plan if he don't have an ulterior motive? Actually, he may have, because he wants to keep fighting the war, because he knows he has been so messed up that if he stopped the war, this country people will actually jail him. They will arrest him and they will jail him. So he may try to flee to UK, where it will be more safer for him. Now, this is not the first time that the West has been taunting Russia with escalatory weapons. Remember, first of all, it started from the depleted uranium, the depleted uranium shells, DPU, that the West sent to Ukraine to use. Remember the uproar about this, not because it's a game changing weapon, but these are uranium that could harm the environment. But yet the West went ahead and they gave it to Ukraine to use. After that, there goes we have the HIMARS weapon. Did it make any change in the battlefield? No. After that, we have the ATACMS and the Storm Shadow. I remember just last year, the West was hailing the delivery of F-16 fighter jet to Ukraine that is going to be a game changer for Ukraine. But how many more game changers do they need to realize that this war has already been lost? And they're just pushing the inevitable. They don't want to accept the fact that this war has been lost already. So they want Ukraine to keep paying the price. They want to keep using Ukraine to fight Russia. Even though they themselves, they know that Ukraine cannot defeat Russia. So how long would they need to do this wicked act? How long would they need to sacrifice the lives of Ukrainians because of the hatred they have for the Russians? Now, remember few months ago, the game changer the Ukraine was going for was Taurus missile. But because they couldn't get it from Germany, because the Russians have sworn to Germany, and Germany knows that the Russia will carry out that threat. Russia seriously warned Germany about sending Taurus missile to Ukraine. So they back off. Now Zelensky went to US to ask for Tomahawk missile. What changes will Tomahawk missile make to Russia? What changes will they make on the front line? Ukraine drones have been hitting Russian refinery since early this year, or since when this war started. How much changes does that happen in the battlefield? Does not have any changes. The Russia are still moving. The Ukraine lines are still falling. And it's still the same thing. The losses are still there. So why not work towards a peace deal than take all these unnecessary escalatory measures that will just drag us into a wider war? Anyway, let's look at the other topic, the other article we have here. And that is the response of the Russian parliament member on what Russia should do to Ukraine use Tomahawk missile on Russia. Putin ally says Poland airbase become target if Trump sends Tomahawk to Ukraine. A Russian lawmaker and top Putin ally on Wednesday said Moscow could bomb a NATO airbase in Poland if the US follows through on the proposal to send long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine. In an interview with Russia state media, Russian MP Alexey Zhuravlyov said Poland's Rzeszow airbase would become a legitimate target. "We aren't at war with the Polish people, but we are at war with the airbase," he said in a television interview. Guys, you know, the reason for this comment is that the West has also been saying the same thing. The reason of this particular the West has been saying the same thing, that they are not at war with Russia, but they are at war with the Putin's government. So, is the Putin's government not the same people that was elected by the Russian citizen to rule them? So, if the West are playing this kind of hypocrisy or this kind of mental gymnast, then the Russians too can also use that same logic to bomb Poland base. But let's continue with the article. These comments are the latest and most chilling response from Russia as President Putin raised a proposal to make the American-made missile available to Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin earlier claimed that US military personnel would have to directly participate in any Ukraine Tomahawk strike. leading to the destruction of the emerging positive trend in the US-Russia relations. Another senior lawmaker on Wednesday confidently predicted the country forces could shoot down any Tomahawk. We know these missiles very well, how they work, how they fly, how to shoot them down. We work with them in Syria, and there's nothing new. Andrei Kraptolov, a former deputy defense minister, told the state-owned RIA news agency, the only problem will be for those who supply them and those who use them. That's where there'll be problem. Bombing UNB and about it. Can they do this? Yes, they can. Because I'm quite late if the Americans can use the Ukraine to supply like in the Russia territory, then the Russia can also take out the United States of America is in the NATO territory. I know in my think there were hearts that the United States under this present administration will not protect Poland. They can keep on going about and say, oh yes, NATO were united, but we know that they are not united. They will not protect Poland. So the issue of this escalation, if President Trump actually sends this missile to Ukraine, is to just drag a war between NATO, European NATO, and Russia. And the United States will back off, and they will make profits by selling weapons to NATO so they can use it to fight Russia. But I hope they don't fall for this thing. They don't fall for this American trick. And Poland should probably consider telling US not to send Poland. So guys, my camera just stopped working. Please, if you like the content, subscribe to the channel and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.